Welcome into the TexAgs Rewind, everyone. Nick Savage here filling in for David Nuno. I'm joined by Kay Naegeli and Luke Evangelist behind the glass. I don't know what to talk about, guys, so lead the way.
We had a great rewind today with a bunch of...
Oh, I guess, yeah, we had...
we got to talk about
Brawny on there to talk a little baseball. Tried to cover our bases today. Mark French, talk a little Aggie basketball.
I got you.
Aaron Torres, talk a little Aggie football. And you.
Yeah.
You talked about it all.
Oh, yeah. I'm riveting entertainment.
100%. Luke, what was your favorite part of the show?
My favorite part was definitely you, Nick Savage. You're an incredible man and an even better leader.
Wow.
Goodness.
And I'm so proud of everything you've done this year. And you ended 2023 on a very high note.
Well, on
what
that
did you
note,
do to deserve
I don't know.
that?
Let's just jump into the rewind. Goodness. Going back to that projected lineup, and if you want to see the whole thing, you got to head to TexAgs.com to check it out. But can you kind of just give an overview of how you laid it out and what you think it, or your reasonings why you put
there's so many different combinations, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like this team still doesn't have a true leadoff hitter. So one of the biggest questions for me right now as I sit here going into January is who's going to hit leadoff.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of a similar question that we had in 2022. And they mixed and matched before Trevor Werner settled in there. Last year, I don't know that Hunter Haas was the ideal leadoff hitter. He was a fantastic player and one of the best one-year wonders that A&M baseball has had. And he ended up settling into that leadoff spot. And so, I think Jim Schlossnagle values that spot more as a run producer than a run setter-upper, if you know what I mean. You know what I'm saying? So, like, having a guy up there that got a little sock in the bat and can hit you some doubles and some homers. And both of the guys that he's hit there in his 2 years as head coach have been older, experienced guys. Werner and then Hunter. So I've made a couple of different lineup projections that has Teddy Burton hitting there. And, but again, like what position is Teddy going to play? There's so much competition for those spots in the infield and at DH. I could definitely see Teddy being an everyday guy in the lineup, but I could also see Teddy being a spot player. Like there's some things that still have to unfold, especially on the dirt in the infield, and then that DH role, and even behind the plate at catcher. If Jackson Appel, the transfer from Penn, if he gets on base at the clip that he got on base in the Ivy League, that's a big step up. Mm-hmm. But we've also seen Texas A&M do a great job with transfers. So much so that a lot of these guys come in and whatever production they had at their previous schools, it increases in the SEC. We saw that with Hunter Haas, Jack Moss, Dylan Rock, Troy Claunch. All these guys had great numbers coming in, and they only improved them when they got here. That's a huge credit to Michael Early. But if Jackson Appel is going to get on base at the clip that he's got on base in his career, it's going to be hard for them not to look at him in that leadoff role and go, okay, like maybe this is a run setter-upper with the amount of sock that we've got in the lineup behind him. Maybe this guy, because he gets on base, a ton. And look, this is not a kid that's up there swinging a tennis racket. He's got a little juice in his bat too, and he's got some pretty good numbers there at Penn. But with the amount of thunder that's coming behind him, if he's on base a bunch, may set A&M up for some crooked number innings. And so what happens in that leadoff spot is a huge question mark of mine. Not in the fact that I don't think they can fill it with talented players, but just who's going to do it. Then you look at first base. What happens at first base? Teddy Burton played there a lot in the fall. Ryan Targach can play there. But the guy that has got the biggest arrow pointing up perhaps on the entire roster is Blake Benderup. Now, is he going to be your everyday first baseman or your everyday DH? I don't know, but I got to figure that bat is going to factor into the lineup. And there's a lot of positions like that, Nick, in the infield where you're going, all right, I think this is going to happen, but it certainly wouldn't surprise me if this happens.
Yeah.
I think Ryan Targach is going to start at second base, but it wouldn't surprise me if Caden Kent starts at second base. I think Ali Camarillo is going to start at shortstop. It wouldn't surprise me if Caden Kent starts at shortstop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, I think Jackson Appel is going to catch. It wouldn't surprise me if Max Coffer caught.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of positions more so on the infield than in the outfield where you can say where you can ask those questions. And so I think this is a really important, I've said it was an important and intriguing fall because of that. And it's going to be a really important lead into the season because there's less established players. And I think Schloss is going to start leaning on, we just lost our jersey.
Jersey went.
I think Schloss is going to start leaning on or have to use a little bit more the production through those practices and inter squads in January to make some lineup decisions.
Mm-hmm.
Like I could see where guys might have a little bit of an edge going in, but if Ali Camarillo doesn't play well at shortstop over the first 3 weeks of practice in inter squads, Caden Kent might be your starting shortstop, or Jack Bell, or any of those guys that are kind of pushing for reps and pushing for time.
Anderson Garcia grabbed the most rebounds by an Aggie since 1990. So what's been the most impressive part of his development since last year?
You know what? A lineup, sorry, not to go back, but maybe it's Garcia, Solomon, Hefner, Jace, and Wade. Because at times, like Andy's been more productive than Henry. And especially in some of these big games recently, Henry hasn't been what he was earlier in the season. And so some of that's, just scouting and having guys dialed in on you. But Andy's been amazing. And you can see the way Buzz talks about him. And he even threw out the Dennis Rodman quote, I think, the other day. And just the way he relentlessly attacks the glass and puts team above self. And that kid's about all the right stuff. That's what's right about college basketball. We complain all the time about, as we should, because it's messed up. But that kid is what's right about college basketball. And anyways, I've been so impressed with it's really his rebounding ability, right? And it's not scoring, although he can hit a three or he'll get a putback and one. It's really about his rebounding, especially if you're going to have a team without Marble, right? You got to have guys, not just bigs, but guards. But Andy's a big part of the bigs, part of that equation in terms of, grabbing rebounds. So to see him go get more rebounds than anyone since 1990, we're talking about 30 years of games. And it's pretty phenomenal. I'm really proud of the kid.
Hayden Hefner and Jace Carter played two of their best games against Houston Christian. So just who are you looking for to step up and maybe do something similar against Prairie View A&M?
Yeah, I mean, I think this trend of like Hefner at 24, right? And again, I think maybe it was a month ago, Nuno and I were talking about this either on air or off air, but it was talking about Hefner. He just gets where he makes 3 threes a game, like that 2 to 4 threes a game. What that does is tilts the court in Wade's favor in order to get downhill. And then maybe you throw Jace on top of that. But yeah, in this next game, I'd really love to see like Henry get going, kind of back to where he was. I'd love to see Manny, who played 18 minutes, only had 4 points the other night, kind of reestablish himself. So it's one of those mop-up games, if we're being honest, where, you'd like to see some guys who maybe aren't your typical, 16 to 20 point guys go get that just so they can feel it. There's something about a confidence building when, you can go score, 15 plus.
Do you see Wade only scoring 10 against HCU as a bad sign, or is it more important for him to facilitate the offense?
In those games, it's more important for Wade to facilitate. And now Memphis, Houston, hog the ball, Wade. I'm cool with it. But no, 100%. I think facilitate. He only played 22 minutes, so he had 2 assists and a rebound and 10 points. So I think it's one of those where for these games, I always viewed it as, hey, I don't want any of my stars to get hurt. Like, let's go win by 25 plus. Let's have an efficient first half, and then let's rest and let the guys like, Manny and Eli and Bryce Lindsey and those type guys, Jace Carter, kind of play the second half. And then maybe you have like a Hefner or a Coleman go off for 20 and they get to feel that. But I have no issue with Wade only having 10 against Houston Baptist.
So let's dive into the games that quote unquote matter, right? The college football playoffs. Give me your breakdown of the semifinal games. Who do you think is playing in Houston for the championship?
Yeah, I'll try to be quick here. If I go long, just cut me off, Nick. In the Michigan-Alabama game, I think like everybody else, really excited about the matchup. But what I will say is a couple things is last 2 weeks, all I've heard last 3 weeks since these games have been announced is Michigan has struggled to move the ball. How is Michigan going to move the ball on this Alabama defense? I don't think enough people are really asking, how is Alabama going to move the ball on this Michigan defense? Because, listen, a lot of people listening to this show right now have seen Alabama in person. Jalen Milroe is an incredible story, especially given what we learned yesterday that Bill O'Brien basically told him to change positions last year. But as great of a story as Jalen Milroe is, here are just the facts, Nick. They were outgained by Georgia in the SEC championship game. They averaged 2.8 yards per carry in the SEC championship game. They had under 200 yards passing in the SEC championship game, and Georgia's the best defense they've faced all year, and at least statistically, Michigan is better. Now, you can argue, is Michigan better than Georgia? Whatever. I just bring it up to say, I think Alabama struggles to move the ball a little bit more than most, and I actually do like Michigan to win this game. I think, I do think it's close. I think I said 24-21 earlier in the week. I think it might be a little bit bigger, 24-14. I'll take Michigan to beat Alabama. And then in the late game, I actually like Washington for two reasons. One is because of the fact that, everyone keeps telling me how great Texas is in the trenches, which is true. But here's the thing. You know who else was great in the trenches? Oregon, who Washington beat twice this year. And the other thing, so one, they're not going to get bullied. Like this narrative that they're going to get bullied because Texas has NFL guys in the trenches. Oregon has guys in the trenches too like that. And Washington more than held their own. And then on the other side, the other thing that I think is worth noting, everyone keeps talking about Washington played a lot of close games, and they did. They did. But here's the other factor. They play their home games in Seattle, Washington, Nick. I don't know if you've ever been to Seattle. Every time I've been to Oregon or Washington, it's raining out, okay? Mm-hmm. And you look at all those close games, Oregon State, Utah, Washington State, they were all playing in really bad weather. And so you put that team in a dome, 72 degrees, whatever. I like Washington to put up a lot of points and a lot of yards, and I think we get a score similar to the Pac-12 championship game. They won that one 34-27. I'll say 34-27. Washington beats Texas, and we get a Michigan-Washington national championship game.
It's crazy, Aaron. I agree with 100% everything you're saying. I think the scores are dead on what they're going to be, but I actually like them in the opposite order that you picked them. I think Bama's going to win a game, around 24-21, something like that. And I think Texas is going to end up beating Washington in a shootout like 37-31 or something.
Do I have time to bring up one more thing?
Yeah, absolutely.
What I would say really quickly, and I'm not saying you're wrong because time will tell who's right and who's wrong. The other thing that I keep going back to with the Alabama-Michigan game is that every year there is one college football playoff game that everyone has the same opinion on. Last year, nobody was making the argument that Michigan would lose to TCU or that TCU could beat Michigan. The year before, if you remember, Georgia was coming off a loss to Alabama in the SEC title game, and everybody thought Michigan at least could hang and maybe beat them. Georgia destroyed them. The year before that, Ohio State was a 2-touchdown underdog. That was the COVID year. Texas A&M fans remember it too well. Ohio State gets in. Ohio State's a 2-touchdown underdog. They beat Clemson. So every single year, there's a game that does not go to plan. And I'll just say this. I have yet to hear anyone, besides Aaron Torres, make the argument for Michigan winning outright. And so I bring it up because I'm either going to look really, really, really smart or everyone else is going to look really, really smart. So we'll see, but that's something to consider as well.
Welcome back in TexAgs Radio, presented by David Gardner's Jewelers. I'm Nick Savage filling in for David Nuno, and it's time for Around Aggieland. That's presented by Norman G. State Bank. Norman G. State Bank, rock solid banking. The website, normangstatebank.com. And of course, we can't do Around Aggieland without Miss Kay Naegeli. So, Kay Naegeli,
I believe you could.
Take it away.
You could probably.
Well, it wouldn't be as good.
I feel like many people have done it without me, but
it's
whenever I was on my
your lower third says host of Around Aggieland. It's your thing. Yeah.
Let's get right to it. We obviously had Christmas and the New Year's are on the way, so not a lot of people are in town. We were just talking about traffic.
Love it.
So nice. And
stay away.
I'm kind of like can't say anything though because I'm a student, so that's technically why I'm here. Anyways, but it's been nice to just have some open roads. So anyways, into the football action, A&M's 2023 season has officially come to a close with a 31-23 loss, unfortunately, to number 20 Oklahoma State, and the Tax Act Texas Bowl, the Aggies finished 7-6 to officially close out the Jimbo Fisher era and then officially start the Mike Elko era. And that also means that Texas A&M has officially announced Colin Klein as Elko's offensive coordinator, Jay Bateman as the defensive coordinator, and then recruiting general manager Derek Miller. They have all been officially added to the staff. Glad to have those guys in Aggieland. See, they're bringing they're the ones coming to Aggieland right now instead of all the students.
They can drive all they want.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, they're probably like, wow, this
awesome.
is nice. Yeah, they have no idea what's about to hit them. Texas A&M basketball, Buzz Williams and the boys are sitting at 8-4 overall, and they will have one final tune-up against Prairie View on Saturday night at 6 p.m. before SEC play starts on January 6th. That will be against LSU. So Buzz and the boys are almost ready to go before SEC play. We had a really exciting SEC play last year with undefeated at Reed, so hopefully they can do that again, run it back. And then women's basketball, Joni Taylor and co. are looking for 10 straight this Sunday. That's crazy coming off the season they had last year. Talk about improvement. They will come this Sunday against A&M Commerce. They will roll into town for a 2 p.m. tip. So if you're in town, make sure to check out Joni Taylor.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Kay.
Of course.
We're going to hit a break here. On the other side, it's going to be the best of hour. We're going to hear from Dat Wynn, Greg McElroy, and Jordan Rogers. SEC shorts, maybe some more. I don't know. We'll see what we can fit in. All that and more here on TexAgs Radio, presented by David Garner's Jewelers. All right, Luke.
You got to say something nice about Luke now.
Luke's
we got to trade
as
compliments.
much crap as Luke gets for his hair and his mustache. I like it.
Thank you. I'm actually about to cut my hair. So
really, what about the stash?
No, never.
Yeah,
never.
I've never seen you without it.
In. Yeah, and you never will. I'm going to keep it, hopefully, for the rest of my life.
Wow.
You should be a police officer. You know that, or like a fireman.
He kind of looks like
that stash.
That requires actual bravery, which I have none of. So I don't think so.
On that note, we'll see you in 2024. Thanks for watching.